Welcome to a new edition of the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino. On this episode, we talk with Coach and Speaker Scott Maderer. In 2017, Scott and his wife Carrie started Inspired Stewardship as a business to serve Christian men and couples that are struggling to live out their calling. They work to help align the way folks use their time, talents, and treasures so that they can identify and live a fully authentic life that allows one to authentically live their calling, serve others, and provide for their family. After almost 30 years in education, Scott and Carrie founded this company to live out their own calling to coaching in 2011. Enjoy this interview.
Hey, thank you for taking a minute out for the show. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Honored to be here.
So I want to get to kind of the crux of what you do, but before we do that, all of us went through quite a thing with COVID, and I'm curious, how did you survive that 3-year period now that things are opening up, and how has it changed the way that you live your life and do your business now?
COVID, I think, was interesting for everybody, but as far as my business goes, it actually didn't change it other than in some ways it actually helped it grow. Personal life, obviously, it affected, things like churches the church I went to, we had started having to do things virtually, and I got involved with helping support the tech, and we lived very far out in the country. And so for us, there was actually a lot of challenges around, they reduced the amount you could get at the grocery store. Well, typically we would go in and shop once a month. Well, now we're having to go in 4 or 5 times. So it actually increased our exposure on a personal level. But from a business perspective, I do my business virtual. I work with people all over the world. I do it all online. I've always done it that way. I was doing that before COVID. I'm still doing that today. So honestly, I've worked with folks in over 14 countries, and through COVID continued to work with people remotely. Didn't really affect that much of the business. I think in some ways it brought people's attention to some of the challenges that were going on in a way, and that actually caused some folks to reach out to me that maybe were on the fence before.
So let's boil down exactly what you do for a living. I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of grade school kids at a career day, and one of the kids will look up at you and say, "What do you do for a living?" How do you answer them?
So what I do is I help others master their time, their talent, and their treasures so that they can live out their calling. That's the one-sentence description. So what does that mean? Well, a lot of folks know that there's something that they feel like they should be doing. It might be a side hustle. It might be something with a nonprofit. It might be their day job. It might be helping their relationship with their wife and spending more time with their kids or doing things that way. And they feel like either I don't have enough money or I don't have enough time to be able to do that. I'm not able to control what's going on in my life. I'm just responding to things as they come up. I'm not actually living life intentionally and proactively. And so what I do as a coach is I work with people and inject tools, inject processes, inject behavior, inject accountability to help them shift from living life happens to me, to living life where they happen to life.
So when you were in the 3rd grade, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Well, when I was in the 3rd grade, I actually wanted to be a doctor. And I actually went to school. By then, I had changed and decided I wanted to do medical research. And so I actually have a degree in biochemistry and a degree in genetics. And I went and did medical research for a while and then figured out that I really didn't want to do that. And then my life kind of pivoted from there.
So, all of us become who we are because of the seeds that are planted early on in life. And you're obviously a very highly driven person that's giving a lot of yourself and helping people. Where did those seeds come from? How did you get this motivation?
So a lot of it, obviously, as you said, it comes from your early life as well. I saw that modeled. My mother was a school teacher. She later became a principal. I later became a teacher. My father was a small business person. He was always an entrepreneur. He started several businesses throughout the years and grew and sold several businesses throughout the years. So I always had that entrepreneurial spirit from, seeing what my dad did, but I also had a service mindset from seeing what my mom did. And a lot of what I've done is kind of marry those two and go into a service, but do it with that entrepreneurial mindset.
So who's been a role model or a hero for you in your life that you've always looked up to?
my number one role model has actually always been my mother. And I know that's kind of cliche to say that in a way, but it really is true. She's a person that I've always admired her ability to get along with others, her ability to interact with other people. I've admired the service that she does for others and for the community. So I don't just admire her because she's my mom, and therefore you kind of almost have to, but I actually admire her as a person. And one of the greatest things in my life is the fact that now as an adult, I have a relationship with her. Yes, I'm still her son, and yes, I'm still her baby boy, but I also have a relationship with her as an adult to an adult where we could talk about things and really spend time together. And I'm happy I've gotten to do that.
So if you can meet anybody alive on the planet right now and talk to them, who would it be? Who would you love to meet?
It's alive on the planet?
Yeah.
Sorry, I was expecting that to be anyone, including dead people, because I've gotten asked that one before. Alive. Actually, probably the Dalai Lama. I think I'd love to sit down with someone like that who has done a lot of service, has done a lot of humanitarian things, and just spend some time getting to know them, not just under what they've done for others, but who they are, and kind of like questions like you're asking. How did you end up living this life that you're living?
Every day we wake up, we have goals, we have things that we want to do with our lives. What motivates you? What propels you through your day?
My why and what always drives me is first is actually my faith. I have a lot of belief in a higher power, and that is number one. Number two, of course, is my family, my wife and my son, and being able to be there for them and provide for them and interact with them. And then the third level is, and why I do the coaching part, is whenever I get to see other people who have been struggling and challenged and having a hard time, turn it around and suddenly have the light bulb go off and they're actually able to do what they've really passionately wanted to do, that just jazzes me and gives me a ton of energy.
So at the end of that proverbial day, how do you look back and quantify it as a good day?
It's things that I have seen measurable changes in what's going on in others' lives. So, as I've had client calls or as I've done outreach or any of the things that I'm doing around my business, it's just being able to check off that, yes, I've moved somebody in the right direction, or I've got another opportunity to make a difference in somebody's life. For my wife and son, it's just quality time. I now work from home. My commute's 30 seconds. I get to have lunch with them. I get to spend time with them and that kind of thing. And then, of course, I actually have routines built into my life that include time for me to spend in prayer and meditation and other quiet time for me to have that relationship with the higher power as well.
So the one thing that's great about getting older is that, we all kind of get to fix things and attain wisdom. And if you had a dream tonight, ran into your 20-year-old version of yourself, and you could give that version of you a piece of advice based on what you've learned and the wisdom you've gained, what would you tell your younger version?
It's interesting because as much as there are things that I would go back and tell myself, hey, probably don't spend as long doing that, or change this about your past, and maybe don't spend as long in the corporate job, quit it earlier and go do your own business earlier, or probably don't spend some time in some of the relationships that I've had, with certain people, maybe cut them out of your life a little faster because they were not a good positive influence on your life. Find some time to do certain things sooner. At the same time, I look at that and I go, I don't know that I would actually give myself that advice, because every experience that I've had, every decision I've made, both good ones and bad ones, has caused me to end up where I am today. And I like where I am today. So I'm not sure if I would risk changing that.
So what's been one of the best client responses, fan letters you've ever gotten from the work you've done?
I'm sorry, that question cut out. Can you repeat it one more time?
What's been one of the best client responses or fan letters, so to speak, you've ever received?
Oh, the best client response or fan letter? Honestly, one of my clients has for the last 3 or 4 years that I've been working with them. They send out a Christmas letter to all of their friends and families every single year. And what's funny is I'm actually shouted out in that Christmas letter the last 3 years. So they always send me a copy too about how I've made a difference in their life and where they are today and how I've helped change their business and their relationship. And I've got several different versions of those from several clients over the years where they sent me a note or sent me a letter or sent me a copy of something that they sent to somebody else because they wanted to acknowledge the fact that the work that we've done together really changed the trajectory of their lives.
So, everyone out there has a perception of you, an idea of who they think you are, your family, your friends, your clients, but ultimately you live your life. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I think I'm a servant heart. I think I'm somebody that really likes helping others. I think that sometimes I can be a little loud and a little brash and a little in your face, but at the same time, it comes from a place of having a good heart. And I try, my best to recognize that sometimes I probably need to temper that a little bit because I'm a little too loud or a little too out there. I think I'm somebody who has become, and I say become because I don't think I've always been that way, but become a good husband and a good father, a good son, somebody who has found a way to do what they really love to do. And be successful at it.
So at the end of the proverbial day, what are you the proudest of? Of all the things that you've done in your life, what are you the proudest of?
The number one probably is simply my wife and my son and the relationship that we have. The fact that I have a 27-year marriage with my wife and we're still going strong, and the fact that she and I together have raised a now adult young man who has turned into a really good adult. And I always tell people when you're raising children, you're not trying to raise a good kid, you're trying to raise a good adult. And the fact that he's turned out to be that, I'm extremely proud of.
So Scott, if anyone out there wants to learn more about you, anything revolving around your world, hire you, where's the best place for them to go?
The absolute best place to find me is always on inspiredstewardship.com. And I've actually got a way over there. There's a link over there where folks can just set up a 30-minute meeting with me and reach out to me that way. We can talk, no obligation, no pressure. There's also a email list and other contact information if they're just more interested in learning a little bit more about what I do.
Hey, Scott, thank you for opening up, man. I appreciate it. This has been great. Good luck with everything.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to another famous interview with Joe Dimino, where we cover the world of art, literature, business, spirituality, music, and more from around the globe. If you want to hear more interviews, visit the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino channel on YouTube. You can also find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Thanks again for listening, and until next time.